And thousands of us tonight are on the broad road that leads to destruction. And tonight, I would say with Moses, I would say with Joshua, turn, repent, choose God, serve Him, live for Him. That is the message of God tonight to this great audience of people at Yankee Stadium.
I see revival coming to planet Earth, maybe as never before. It will be untold numbers, an untold, uncounted multitudes that will be saved. The dead will be raised. The arthritic will be healed. Cancer will be healed. No disease would be able to stand before God's people, and that it would be a worldwide situation.
There's a church that doesn't just know about God, they know God. They don't just believe in His power, they carry His power. God will shake the United States of America one last time, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit.
Welcome to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as Adalis and I are here to announce our next big move, biggest move we've ever made for Revival Today. Behind me is a building that will look nothing like it looks right now when we finish. We're on just under 5 acres of property that we've just finished purchasing, which is going to give us the ability to have a state-of-the-art studio. And in that studio, something I've wanted to have for a long time, which is a live studio audience. It's going to be a 500-seat building when we finish with it that'll give us the ability to touch the world with our broadcasts. This facility is going to give me the ability to do what I've really missed, which is having you in the audience to minister to personally. Obviously, you can't beat the reach of digital media. We touch the whole world every day. But we have the ability now with this to lay hands on people, pray for people that are sick, a place where you can bring people that are drug addicted, demonized, and really give them the ministry that you can't get on YouTube and Facebook. I can't wait. And then beyond that, we're going to announce the launch of Revival Today Church. We're going to hold Holy Ghost church services every Sunday morning. I'll be there most Sunday mornings. This isn't going to be like some little side project. We're going to give you and your family a place you can go that's a soul-winning church that values the presence of God, where you can get prayed for and ministered to, where there's not a critical race theory lecture or a mass and social distancing 10 minutes of no talking to anybody in the lobby. None of that. We're going to have a place where you're free and where you're free to experience the presence of God.
I'm incredibly excited because I know a lot of you have been asking about different meetings and events that we couldn't have during COVID, and trust me, we tried so hard. So this really frees us up to do everything that we want to do with healing meetings and women's conferences. So I am so looking forward to seeing you and having you be a part of this.
So I want to give you a twofold call to action. Number one, if your church turned in to a liberal nightmare in 2020 and you need a place to go, I would be happy to have you at our church. Number two, if you are a partner or a friend of our ministry, Revival Today, this is the biggest move by far we've ever made. By the time we finish remodeling that building, the acquiring of the property, you're looking at a couple of M's. So if you would stand with us now, I'll say thank you ahead of time. Pray and ask the Holy Ghost what He would have you to do. You've been so generous, and I thank you ahead of time for your extreme generosity. I know I speak on behalf of my wife, everybody here at Revival Today when I say we love you very much. And now I can say I look forward to seeing you face to face here at the new home of Revival Today.
Hey. You must be new or something, man. We the best, man.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Check the Market. We're back with you live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Dawn, Lyric, Gorgeous Whales, Ninja, Vera. Good morning, everybody. Make sure you share the broadcast. We're back on YouTube, so make sure you share with your friends. The market's already open. And the money gun seems to have malfunctioned. Morning, David, Monte Calvo. The market is down a little bit, except for the NASDAQ and the Russell. It looks like the Dow and the S&P are down. Starting the week off, there we go. Money gun went off, but missed its mark. Let's try it again, one more time. There we go. Awesome. And I think that's the first time ever we've emptied it. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I was on a little bit of vacation with the family, but now we're back with you and ready to go, ready to make some money on this new week. And let's go ahead and start with the first article. The world's largest carbon market is set for historic revamp. Europe's ship owners are concerned. So we've been talking about this a little bit, about the carbon market, the carbon trading, that could be a multi-billion-dollar industry here in the near future, and Europe is actually leading the way on that. And so I saw this article this morning, and I wanted to share with you. Let me go ahead and read it. The European Union is due to propose an unprecedented overhaul to its carbon market this week, seeking to put a price on shipping emissions for the first time. The region's ship owners are deeply concerned. The European Commission, the EU's executive arm, is set to present its green fuel law for EU shipping on Wednesday. It's part of a broader package of reforms designed to meet the bloc's updated climate targets. To be sure, the EU has committed to reducing net carbon emissions by 55% when compared to 1990 levels through to 2030, becoming a climate neutral by 2050. The EU says this will require a 90% reduction in transport emissions over the next 3 decades. To meet these targets, the EU plans to undergo the biggest revamp of its emissions trading system since the policy launched in 2005, already the world's largest carbon trading program. The ETS is now widely expected to expand to include shipping for the first time. Continue. Lars Robert Peterson, Deputy Secretary General of BIMCO, the world's largest international shipping association, says it's no secret the industry has concerns about the EU's plans. You're not going to change the fleet on a dime. In the near to medium term, any imposition of a carbon price would essentially be a tax. There is a strange misbelief in Europe that these kinds of actions put pressure on other regions to do the same, Peterson told CNBC via telephone. I think, frankly, it has the opposite effect. He argued the proposal was not conducive to international policy, would fail to reduce regional carbon emissions, and ultimately take money out of the shipping industry when it could otherwise be spent on reducing emissions in the fleet. Continue. It is taxation. Does that help anything when it comes to decarbonization? I don't think so. It looks more like it's an effort to collect money, and so be it, Peterson continued. Europe decides what Europe decides, and there's not so much you can do about that, I guess, other than highlight that it might not be the most appropriate way to reduce emissions. His comments come shortly after Transport and Environment, a European nonprofit, purportedly obtained a leaked proposal for a draft of the first ever law requiring ships to progressively pivot to sustainable marine fuels. A spokesperson for the Commission declined to comment on the draft proposal. The EU has said action to address EU international emissions from navigation and aviation is urgently needed, and initiatives to address these areas will be designed to boost the production and uptake of sustainable aviation and maritime fuels. Peterson said it was important not to panic over the leaked draft, noting that it could still be revised in the coming days, and there are many more hurdles to overcome before the measures become EU policy. Continue. EU member states and European Parliament would first need to negotiate the final reforms, a process that analysts estimate could take roughly 2 years. To be frank with you, I haven't even bothered to read it because I think it's a waste of time at this point. Environmental disaster shipping, which is responsible for around 2.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, is seen as a relatively difficult industry to decarbonize because low-carbon fuels are not widely available at the required scale. So it looks like these guys are going to have to start looking into low-carbon fuels such as renewable hydrogen and ammonia, maybe even nuclear-powered ships, something like that. That's what they're going to have to look into, biofuels. But what they're saying is that they're taking money out of the shipping industry when the shipping industry could use that money to buy new ships or upgrade their fleet. But instead, they're going to have to pay it as a tax of sorts to the European Union. So we'll see how all of this plays out. I think there might be some opportunity there for those carbon tax credits, depending on, or the carbon credits, depending on what happens with that draft, with that paper, if it becomes law or whatnot. All right. Tell us about your vacation after all this. I want to hear about Disney World. Disney World was fun. It was. We went to Magic Kingdom, and my son had a very fun time. And I did too. I was a little tired at the end, but most fun for me was just seeing his face when he was on the ride. They let him on Space Mountain, even though he technically wasn't tall enough, and he loved it. So he had a great time, and I had a great time as well. My feet hurt after the day was over, but that was about it. It was a lot of walking. And we rented a boat, got caught in a storm on the boat, so that was a lot of fun. Kofi, we don't care about your vacation. Tell us about stocks. All right, well, let's continue with stocks then. It was fairly crowded. I was surprised. How crowded it was when we were trying to leave out of the park. It was like pre-COVID. That's how crowded it was. They say they still have limits, but I honestly don't know if they have limits. I mean, it was packed. You had to wait a long time for food and stuff and order it on the app. And so yeah, it was fun. They didn't have any mask mandate except for on the train. But you could take the ship instead and didn't have to wear a mask. So it was fun. Thanks, Alice, for caring about my vacation. Unlike Kofi. Yeah, I mean it is packed. It is Disney World was packed. But it was also the week after 4th of July, so there might be it might taper down a little bit over the next coming weeks. I think my favorite part of the week was just seeing how excited Max was to ride his first roller coaster. Thank you, everybody. All right, let's go next article. Just magical. Billionaire Richard Branson reaches space in his own ship. This was yesterday. Let's see the article. There's the Virgin Galactic space flight. I believe that's the carrier, and then right there in the middle, that like chrome-colored part, that's the actual spaceship. Continue. Swashbuckling billionaire Richard Branson hurtled into space aboard his own winged rocket ship Sunday, bringing astrotourism a step closer to reality and beating out his exceedingly richer rival Jeff Bezos.
You must be new or something, man. We the best, man.
That's right. Richard Branson is the best, and Jeff Bezos is... I would assume he is a little upset about this because he wanted to be the first billionaire up there. The nearly 71-year-old Branson and 5 crewmates from his Virgin Galactic space tourism company reached an altitude of 53.5 miles over the New Mexico desert, enough to experience 3 to 4 minutes of weightlessness and witness the curvature of the Earth, and then glided back home to a runway landing. The whole thing, it was just magical, a jubilant Branson said on his return aboard the gleaming white spaceplane named Unity. Continue. To all you kids down there, Richard Branson's message from Zero Gravity. I believe we have the video, so let's go ahead and play that.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream, looking up to the stars. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down
That
to
lady
our
looks
beautiful,
super
beautiful
happy.
Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Hey!
Come on out, Richard.
There we go. That was Richard Branson floating in space. It looked like he had a great time. And no, I believe the Earth isn't flat, but we might not want to get into that because that is a sensitive subject for some people. Nick knows what I'm talking about. All right, continue. The brief up and down flight, the spaceplane's portion took only about 15 minutes, or about as long as Alan Shepard's first U.S. space flight in 1961, was a splashy and unabashedly commercial plug for Virgin Galactic, which plans to start taking paying customers on joyrides next year. Branson became the first person to blast off in his own spaceship, beating Bezos, the richest person on the planet, by 9 days. He also became the second septuagenarian to go into space. Astronaut John Glenn, my goodness, flew on the space shuttle at age 77 in 1998. Bezos sent his congratulations, adding, "Can't wait to join the club." But he wasn't the first member, though he also took to Twitter a couple days earlier to enumerate the ways in which he believes his company's tourist rides will be better. With about 500 people watching, Branson's family Unity was carried aloft underneath a twin fuselage aircraft. Then at an altitude of about 8.5 miles, Unity detached from the mothership and fired its engine, reaching more than Mach 3, or 3 times the speed of sound, as it pierced the edge of space. Continue. Spectators cheered, so it was a great moment for everybody. That was an amazing accomplishment, former Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield, a one-time commander of the International Space Station, said from the sidelines. "I'm just so delighted at what this tour is going to lead to now. It's a great moment." Continue. Bezos' Blue Origin company intends to send tourists past the so-called Kármán line, 62 miles above the Earth, which is recognized by International Aviation and Aerospace Federations as the threshold of space. But NASA, the Air Force, and the Federal Aviation Administration, and some astrophysicists consider the boundary between the atmosphere and space to begin at 50 miles up. The risks to Branson and his crew were underscored in 2007 when a rocket motor test in California's Mojave Desert left 3 workers dead, and in 2014 when a Virgin Galactic rocket plane broke apart during a test flight. I was sitting at a restaurant, and as this was going on, or they were talking about it on Saturday evening, and the pictures I looked over and the first thing that I saw was this 2014 crash of the Virgin Galactic rocket plane, and in my mind I immediately went to, oh my goodness, Richard Branson crashed and died. That was my first thought. And then after like about 30 seconds they put up the thing that said that this was in 2014, and yeah, I kind of freaked out. Ever the showman, Branson insisted on a global live stream of Sunday morning flight and invited celebrities and former space station astronauts to the company's Spaceport America base in New Mexico. Continue. Here we go. Virgin Galactic already has some more than 600 reservations from would-be space tourists, with tickets initially costing $250,000 apiece. And upon his return to Earth, Branson announced a sweepstakes drawing for 2 seats on a Virgin Galactic jaunt. Blue Origin is waiting for Bezos' flight before announcing its ticket prices. Continue. All right, so you can enter that sweepstakes and see if you want to get in on this and go visit the stars with Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic. It's trading under the ticker symbol SPCE. Let's see where they are right now. I'm invested in this company. Oh, they're down 11%. The flight's over. Still up about 25% on the month. 51% on the last 3 months. So they're doing pretty good. All right, next.
We are armed for release. 20 seconds.
Oh, here we go. I believe that's the full video.
10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Release, release, release. Clean release. Ignition. Good rocket motor burn. There's Mach 1. Things are looking great. We are 25 seconds into the burn now, approaching Mach 2. 30 seconds, Mach 2. Everything's looking really good and stable.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream, looking up to
I just can't get over how excited that blonde lady is.
I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down to our beautiful, beautiful Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Hey!
Come on out, Richard.
There he is. Superman pose. Floating in space. And a clean touchdown. Look at that.
Main gear touchdown.
All right, continue.
I think
Next.
Like most kids, I have dreamt.
Banks are about to kick off earnings season. Keep an eye on Citigroup. So this is something that the new earnings season is kicking off today, kicking off this week for the second quarter. So we'll keep an eye on all of that and see what's happening. Let me see the article. Bank investors are hoping for something to get excited about this coming week when JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and others report second quarter results. They shouldn't get their hopes up. It's not that there hasn't been good news for bank stonks. Just last month, the biggest banks easily passed the Federal Reserve's annual stress tests, paving the way for them to return capital to shareholders without restrictions. They've also gotten a lift from improving economic conditions, the release of reserves set aside for bad loans that never materialized, and continued trading and deal-making activity. Banks have controlled what they can control and have come out on the other side better for it. Continue. But there's one thing banks can't control: bond yields. The Spider S&P Bank Exchange Trade Fund, KBE, gained around 30% to start the year as the 10-year yield climbed as high as 1.75%. The ETF has given back about half of its gains as the 10-year yield dropped below 1.3% this past week. While bank earnings should contain a lot of good news, there may not be enough to get the group moving higher. In fact, the opposite might be true. Banks have proven they have a solid foundation, but the next leg of growth is more uncertain. Few expect that trading activity, which has soared last year amid volatile market conditions, will match last year's torrid pace. Across the sector, second quarter trading revenue is likely declined by roughly 30% year over year. Expectations of reserve releases and capital return to shareholders have already been priced into the shares. As for loan growth, expectations are weak as loan activity has likely been muted. Continue. Bank stocks aren't nearly as cheap as they were a year ago, when many were trading below tangible book value, but compared with the broad market, they still look cheap. The Spider S&P Bank ETF currently trades at 11.1 times 12-month forward earnings, while the S&P 500 trades at 21.6 times. Against this backdrop, with banks strong but perhaps not as exciting as certainly not as cheap, few are as cheap as Citigroup, ticker symbol C, which trades just at 0.9 times tangible book and offers a 3% yield after falling 13% over the past month. Analysts surveyed by FactSet expect that Citigroup will earn $1.99 per share, roughly a fourfold increase from the challenging year-ago quarter. Citigroup earlier this year, just as Jane Fraser was poised to become CEO. Prior to Fraser claiming the top spot, the bank was hit with a consent order by regulators for weaknesses in its internal controls. While there has been some analyst skepticism about how quickly Citigroup can correct those issues and at what cost, the street generally agrees that with Fraser at the helm, the bank has a renewed sense of urgency to streamline its operations. So Citigroup is one to watch. Continue. Citi's cheap valuation makes up for a lot of these issues, says KBW analyst David Conrad. We are assuming coverage of Citigroup with an outperform. Conrad sees Citi stock trading at $85 a share, almost 25% above Friday's close. It might take time, but Citi stock should pay off for patient investors. Next article. Earnings season kicks off, CPI and retail sales. What to know this week? So this is what's coming up this week. Let's see the article. Investors are gearing up for a busy week with the start of second quarter earnings and an onslaught of new economic data on deck. The prospects of another strong quarter for corporate earnings results have been one of the major factors underpinning stocks. March to new highs. As of late, S&P 500 earnings in aggregate are expected to grow by 64% for the second quarter, which is huge, which would mark the fastest increase since the fourth quarter of 2009. Corporate earnings results have far exceeded expectations so far this year, with S&P 500 companies posting record levels of earnings per share growth, surprises and beat rates during the first quarter and 2021-2022. Annual estimates being revised higher by analysts at a blistering pace as the economic recovery continues to gain steam. Continue. As we enter the second half of the year, we believe companies will continue to build on the earnings recovery displayed in recent quarters as more areas of the economy adapt and get closer to normal levels of activity throughout the year. Continue. The financial sector has recorded the third highest percentage increase in estimated dollar-level earnings of all 11 sectors since the start of the quarter at 11.5%, FactSet's John Butters said in a note. As a result, the estimated earnings growth rate for this sector has risen to 119.5% from 96.9% during this time. Banks are headed into the second quarter results following a strong start to the year. JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley each handily exceeding analysts' estimate in the first quarter, when the start of the economic recovery and roaring market activity helped drive strong trading and investment banking results, with stocks rising to new highs and the IPO market posting its busiest month since 2000 in June. Both trading and investment banking are set to be strong points yet again for the bulge bracket banks. Continue. For the April through June quarter, economic activity picked up even further. With this growth will likely help to further serve as a tailwind for businesses. At the same time, however, interest rates have come down from a year-to-date high in March, which will likely pressure banks' all-important net interest income or profit derived from core lending practices. The benchmark U.S. Treasury yield rose to as high as 1.77% in late March before tumbling to around 1.35% as of Friday. So far, banks have been split about the path for loan growth in the second half. Continue. Consumer stimulus peaked in March-April and should decline meaningfully during the third quarter 21, O'Connor wrote. And note several states didn't fully reopen until the end of second quarter, including California and New York, a combined 15 to 20% of the U.S. population, an even greater amount of the overall U.S. economy. As activity increases, spending and borrowing should as well. The Consumer Price Index from the Bureau of Labor Statistics will show the extent of price increases for consumers in June as supply chain bottlenecks and labor scarcities weigh on the economic recovery. Continue. CPI is expected to rise 0.5 over last month, following a 0.6% increase. So we're looking at inflation, looking at airfares, hotels, which let me tell you, the hotels were packed. Everywhere I went, there was just driving up the highway. I saw the hotels all packed. This last week, it was tough to get a hotel room. We decided impromptu to visit Charleston, South Carolina, and it was tough to get a hotel room. And I mean, people everywhere, crowds everywhere. Continue. All right, next article. United is offering more flights to warm weather destination. This last weekend, or July 4th weekend, was a record-breaking weekend for flights as well. I was reading that it was almost not quite as high as 2019 levels, but almost as high as 2019 levels. All right, let's see the article. United Airlines expect the sizzling summer surge in leisure travel to stay hot this winter and is adding 150 new flights to warm weather cities. That's if they can find the pilots. We've seen a significant uptick in our passenger demand and our customer demand, Ankit Gupta, United Vice President of Network Planning and Scheduling, told Yahoo Finance Live. The airline is increasing flights from November through March 22 to Florida, California, Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada. It's also adding service to destinations in Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Looks like people still have a pent-up demand for vacations, and it looks like it's going to be heading into spring of 2022 here. So that's good news for airlines. That would be Delta, DAL, United Airlines, UAL. And yes, airlines still do require the masks, and I drove to visit my brother in Indiana, and then I drove down to Florida, and we just had a great time. The family all in the car, just having fun. All right, next article. The world's billionaire factory shutters as China cracks down. This was news that came out while I was gone, and it looks like China is cracking down on the billionaires. It's cracking down on IPOs listed on U.S. exchanges. So they're really stifling economic activity and like entrepreneurial activity in China. And I don't know if I think this is really going to come back to bite them. Let's see the article. It was the kind of brazen PR stunt that Jack Ma might have dreamed up. But this wasn't the flamboyant Chinese billionaire who disappeared from public view 8 months ago. It was Mark Zuckerberg, bobbing up and down on a hydrofoil surfboard, clutching an American flag and exuding all the confidence of a man worth $130 billion. The contrast between the social media mogul's July 4th Instagram video and the day's big event in China could hardly have been starker. Regulators in Beijing had just hours earlier banned Didi Global Inc.'s ride-hailing service from app stores, delivering their latest hammer blow to an entrepreneurial elite that once seemed destined to challenge Zuckerberg and his U.S. peers at the top of the world's wealth rankings. The age of unfettered giant gains for China's ultra-rich now appears to be coming to an abrupt end. Continue. Even as the world's 10 wealthiest people added $209 billion to their net worth in the first half of 21, China's richest tycoons in the Bloomberg Billionaires Index saw their combined fortunes shrink by $16 billion. Shares of their flagship companies sank by an average 13% during the period, the first time in at least 6 years that they've recorded declines when the broader Chinese equity market was rising. Didi's stock had plunged 14% since its June 30th debut on the New York Stock Exchange, slashing the wealth of the company's co-founders by almost $800 million. Behind the losses is a crackdown that has only intensified since November, when Ma's Ant Group was forced to pull its blockbuster initial public offering at the last minute. Policymakers are tightening regulations on some of the most important facets of Asia's largest economy, from financial services to internet platforms and the data that underpins most big businesses in modern China. In the latest salvo, regulators unveiled new draft rules on Saturday that would require nearly all domestic companies to undergo a cybersecurity review before listing in a foreign country. So the Chinese government is really cracking down on companies. This is going to cause me to take a look at my portfolio, see what kind of risks there is to stocks that are based in China and Hong Kong that I own. It's definitely going to be an issue, and I think that in the long term this might hurt the Chinese if they're going to stifle entrepreneurial growth like that. And the Chinese Communist Party is cracking down on all of these billionaires, cracking down on all of these companies and putting excessive regulation in place. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it here on Check the Market. Next article. Crypto exchanges have a plan to beat Binance, play by the rules. Coinbase, Kraken, and Gemini are embracing regulation. We're playing the long game, says Cameron Winklevoss, one of the Winklevoss twins. So they are embracing regulation. They're going to work with regulators to make sure that they are all up to par and everything's good to go. Let's see the article. In the wild world of cryptocurrency exchanges, one strategy never seemed to pay off: embracing regulation. Take Gemini, started by the twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, while it was plastering posters in New York subways a few years ago declaring there was finally a regulated place to buy, sell, and store crypto. An exchange called Binance, with no clear headquarters and a mysterious structure, quietly took the top spot among the world's cryptocurrency exchanges. Suddenly touting adherence to the rulebook looks very smart. Although Binance Holdings turns away American customers, it's now said to be facing probes from U.S. agencies. In late June, the financial watchdog in the UK told a Binance affiliate that it wasn't authorized to carry out regulated activities in that country. The pressure on Binance raises the odds that several exchanges pledging to comply with tough U.S. regulations may soon find themselves operating with less competition in some of the world's biggest economies. We're playing the long game, says Cameron Winklevoss. We're trying to be the fastest tortoise in the race. The long game pays off over time. I don't know if the twins will ever beat Zuckerberg, but it's looking like if Bitcoin goes where they say it's going to go, $250,000 or even higher, then they might end up being richer than Zuckerberg at some point. Next, Wall Street's $6 billion bonanza chilled by China IPO curve. So we already went over this. Looks like China is cracking down on IPOs, especially some ones that are listed on foreign exchanges. They want them to list on Hong Kong and Chinese exchanges instead, and then bring money from overseas into China instead of it being the other way around. Continue, which is smart on their part, since Hong Kong has been hammered with all sorts of controversy and the riots and protests that were there the last couple of years. So Hong Kong really does need to improve their reputation, and I believe this is part of why China is doing this. Continue. Next. ByteDance shelved IPO intentions after Chinese regulators warned about data security. So the owner of TikTok video app took different approach from ride-hailing company Didi, which pressed ahead with US listing. ByteDance, which owns TikTok, is going to have to undergo this security review, cybersecurity review by the Chinese authorities before it's able to get the green light on a U.S. listing. All right, next. Next article. Container shipping prices skyrocket as rush to move goods picked up, so there's still bottlenecks in global shipping. Persistent supply chain bottlenecks are driving up rates, and shipping sector sees no relief on the horizon before 2022, especially if they're going to keep shutting down ports due to COVID. This is going to be persisting. Next article. Anyone can beat the stock market, new research suggests. Let's see the article real quick. 60 years of Nobel Prize winning theory says no, it's not possible, but just maybe it is. Ironically, the widespread belief that it's impossible helps to make it possible. To see how, recall a high buzz stock market event in last December 21st when Tesla became a component of the S&P 500. Research affiliate chairman Rob Arnault and colleagues made a bold prediction: Tesla stock is likely to underperform the market in the year after entry. And Apartment Investment Management, the stock removed from the S&P 500 to make room for Tesla, is likely to outperform the index over the next year by as much as 20%. Today, just over 6 months later, the only flaw in that prediction is that it may have been too modest. The S&P 500 is up 17%. Tesla is indeed underperforming badly. It's flat. Apartment Investment Management, known as AIMCO, is outperforming the S&P 500. And by the way, more than 20%. It's up 44%. Continue. Arnault, whose firm develops investment strategies used in managing $166 billion in assets worldwide, argues that what happened is no fluke. It's a particularly dramatic example of a predictable phenomenon that can be exploited by traders. The opportunity, he says, is in the fundamental nature of index mutual funds and ETFs. Their objective, obviously, is to track the performance of an index, which means tracking it exactly. The index fund industry has become intensively competitive, and any divergence of a fund's price from the index movement, known as tracking error, will be seized upon by competitors as evidence that the fund is poorly run. The danger of tracking error multiplies when one stock replaces another in the index. The reason: to avoid tracking error, every index fund wants to buy the new stock and sell the departing one at the closing prices on the day before that day, because the index will be calculated on that basis. The result is trading mayhem on the trading day before the switch. Continue. That's it. So you can exploit that loophole, what that article was saying. If there's a company that's being taken off the S&P 500 and a company that's being taken on, apparently there is, I'm going to have to look more into this, but apparently there's always, or most of the time, the company that is then listed on the S&P 500 underperforms, and the one that's taken off outperforms the market. Continue. Next article. Questioning my friends and family when Bitcoin is 100K. So you didn't buy the 30K dip? Tell us what happened.
You must be new or something, man. We the best, man.
Next.
Bag up, bag up. Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord. Lord, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus. What you doing, Terry? Terry, what you
That's happened to me more than one time, where I took advice from somebody on YouTube or TikTok. That's why you always got to do your research yourself and see if it's a good company to buy. That way you don't end up losing your house and all of these other things. All right, next. FBI warns digital currency exchanges and crypto earners of possible threats. So the FBI is warning that there's possible cyber attacks that's going to be happening against exchanges and crypto wallets, things like that. So we'll see what happens there. Just make sure that you keep your cryptocurrency secure. If you have, yeah, that's right, that's Reddit advice. If you have Bitcoin, or more than a certain amount, whatever that amount is for you, you can personally decide. I have a hardware wallet that I keep that on. It's like a little USB drive, and I don't keep it on the actual exchanges, just for that reason, in case it gets hacked or whatnot. I don't want to lose Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever else. So that is an extra bonus tip of the day. But let's go over the stocks real quick. The low XLF Financial Select Sector Spider Fund. The investment seeks returns on price and yield of publicly traded companies in the financial sector. Has a 4-star Morningstar rating. Has a return on average of around 6% since inception in 1998. The financial sector will benefit from higher yields, and this could push the index higher. Second quarter results are also expected to be good for financials, which could push the index higher, depending on what their forecast is for the coming year. Has a dividend yield of around 1.57%, and a gross expense ratio for the fund is around 0.12%. Never hurts to have some financials in your long-term portfolio anyways. Medium BAC, Bank of America. We've had this one in here before as a medium. It's one of the largest banks in America, focused on pretty much all aspects. I think Bank of America is looking pretty good, and I'm actually going to buy a couple more shares in Bank of America. I've owned them for a while now, and I think I'm going to buy a couple more shares because I think it is looking pretty solid. I'd sell it around $48 to $50 a share. Has a book value at 1.3x, which is slightly lower than most in the industry, in the banking industry. And it also has a small dividend, around 1.8%. Yeah, there's moderate growth there. I'm probably going to sell around $48 to $50 a share and get out of Bank of America at that point. Now, the high is Space, SPCE, Virgin Galactic Holdings. This is a very volatile stock. As we can see today, it's down 12%. If you look at their chart, I mean, it's like just a constant up and down. So after following this stock, and I've been in it since the beginning of the year, after following this stock since the beginning of the year, I'm going to start trading some options on it, see how it goes. So call and put options, maybe some other option strategies, we'll see. Stock is currently was soaring on the news of the first completed space flight and the billionaire space race. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of days, especially with Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin as well. So we'll see what happens there. So SPCE is the high risk, but I'm not buying the actual stock. I'm going to be trading options on it. So if you want to research that and see if that's something that you'd like to do as well. So the low was XLF, which is I would put it in a higher low risk category, but there's still some risk there. Medium, Bank of America, and high, Virgin Galactic Holdings. And let's go over the tip of the day. Tip of the day.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the tip of the day is SenateStockWatcher.com. What this is a website that compiles a list of the trades that they're doing in the Senate, or that senators are doing. There's one article, Pat Toomey just bought Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So it looks like some of these senators are getting into cryptocurrency, which leads me to believe that they see some serious profit there. Can you pull up the article of the Nancy? No, you know what? I'll just save it for tomorrow. But yeah, SenateStockWatcher.com is the tip of the day. I go there every now and then and see what the senators and our lawmakers are doing, what they're trading, what they're selling, what they're buying. All right, and that's it for today. If you enjoyed this show and you enjoy everything that we do here at Revival Today, then we would like to invite you to give and donate. And for your gift of any size, we have this beautiful Check the Market mug right here. You have the picture of it? There it is, the Check the Market mug. What a beautiful mug. And the handle is nice and big. You can fit your whole hand into it. That's what I like about it the most. And that is it. That is yours for a gift of any size today. You can go to revivaltoday.com/give. Or you can go to #donate on Facebook. Text RT to 50155. We're on Cash App, $RTGive. On Venmo @RTGive, and then revivaltoday.com/PayPal. We also take cryptocurrencies. And we take any sort of cryptocurrency, not just the ones there. So if you want to scan that code, you can donate in cryptocurrency. Or you can call our office at 412-446-2332 and donate there as well in any other cryptocurrency that you might not see there. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can send a check by mail to Revival Today, P.O. Box 7, Prosperity, Pennsylvania, 15329. And don't forget to claim your offer at revivaltoday.com/offer. That way you can let us know that you would like the Check the Market mug, and we'll send that to you. And coming up at 11 a.m., we have Revival Today Live. And then at 4 p.m., live with Maddie Ortiz. And then at 10 p.m., Check the News. And then tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., morning prayer with Evangelist Kofi. So don't forget to tune in to all of that great programming that we have for you to hear at Revival Day Global Broadcast. And am I missing anything? Oklahoma City, yes. Can we put the graphic up? So July 16th through the 18th, Winners Church in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 6800 North Bryant Avenue, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then after that in Hobbs, New Mexico. Do we have that one? 25th through the 30th of July at Choose Life Church. That is in Hobbs, New Mexico. So if you're in any of those areas, make it out to the meetings. They're always powerful. Let's see here. Any questions? What was the best thing you ate at Disney World? I have to know. It was a funnel cake with strawberries and whipped cream. That was definitely the best thing. Best food at Disney World. Yes, that was definitely the funnel cake. Well, it was great to be back with all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you share the broadcast, and I will see all of you tomorrow. See ya.